But first, the revelation of Liberal strategic thinking around the Prime Minister's image problems. Does it represent a damaging leak, or is it part of some Machiavellian political manipulation? No one in Parliament House today seemed quite sure which. Highly sensitive and confidential Liberal Party polling appeared on the front page of News Limited tabloids this morning, proclaiming John Howard to be old and tricky, and revealing a plan to target the state Labor governments as a way to take some of the shine off federal Labor leader Kevin Rudd's electoral popularity. It came at the start of an important week for the government, a brief return to the Parliament with some vital legislation to be pushed through with minimal debate. Laws that will underpin the government's controversial intentions on Indigenous affairs in the Northern Territory and the Commonwealth takeover of the Murray-Darling water management. Political editor Michael Brissenden reports.
Putting the cat amongst the pigeons. It's Lawsy on 2UE.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this poll. The poll I said was bad for the Prime Minister. It's really a bit more than bad. I just wonder how he feels after 11 years' service to the country to be described as old and sneaky and dishonest and out of touch. The Prime Minister, we can find out because the Prime Minister joins us on the line. Prime Minister, good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Well, Prime Minister, thank you. What's your response to this report?
The one that's in the papers.
Part of the polling says that the fact that you look like a younger version of the Prime Minister is really counting in your favour. How do you react to that?
Well, I'm not sure that either Mr Howard or I would necessarily welcome that conclusion.
So you're both offended?
Well, he can speak for himself, and what his pollster says about the way in which I look is a matter for him.
Setting the media agenda is a refined art. Political parties spend a lot of time and money finessing the message and controlling the spin. It might seem like politics is in that state of excitement almost permanently at the moment, but some days, and indeed some weeks, cutting through and controlling the message is more important than others. This is one of those weeks. Possibly the last full sitting fortnight before the election, the first after the long winter break. There's an ambitious agenda that includes the introduction of the Indigenous affairs legislation, 480 pages of it. The government wants that voted on by tomorrow night. There's a news poll out tomorrow and perhaps an interest rate rise on Wednesday. Talkback, early morning television and a well-placed leak are all part of the strategy. So what's with this?
I haven't actually seen the individual report, but it's the document, that is, but it brings together some thoughts people have had through various other pieces of research. Look, we have been struggling this year politically, there's no doubt about that. And I think that research reflected some of the negative views that were around. It was done a couple of months ago. I think our position has improved since then, but I'm not particularly amazed at what is in that document, because there have been some negative things about the government around for a while, but there are also a lot of very positive things.
Well, Mr Howard's pollsters have let the cat out of the bag because they've said to Mr Howard, don't bother about governing the country, just blame the states for everything.
Not that Labor has ever held much of a torch for the findings of Crosby Textor Consulting in the past, but on balance, whatever side of politics you're on, it's not hard to view this morning's coverage as more of a negative than a positive for the government. These are the nation's most popular tabloid dailies. If it was a strategic leak, then it's left a lot of people scratching their heads in wonder. What is the strategy exactly? Some have mused that it's similar to the Shane Stone memo leaked just before the 2001 election that detailed how voters viewed the government as mean and tricky. That was seen as a turning point, a circuit breaker for the government. This report from Mark Textor on June the 21st this year shows voters think the PM is old and dishonest. It charts a big shift to Labor among the so-called aspirational voters who've supported John Howard since 1996, particularly among younger voters, parents and part-time workers.
This is a strong, cohesive, effective government, and look, this is not a government which is going to be put off by a poll. As I said, we've had plenty of them, and even a poll on a front page. Well, as I said, just another poll, big deal.
It is the Liberal Party's own poll, of course, and that perhaps lifts it just above the ordinary. The report also recommends that the government stop Labor setting the agenda, paint Labor as a risk and take on the states.